welcome back to my channel. My name is Sabrina, and in this week's video I'm going to be reading for 24 hours. My first video on here was reading for 24 hours and it was absolutely horrific. I was having one of my worst migraine attacks I've ever had in my entire life. I should have just not done the video, but I'm stubborn, so I wanted to go ahead and do it anyways, and I absolutely hated how it turned out, so I removed it. But ever since I did that, I really want to give it another shot. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. So let's go over some ground rules. Rule number 1, 8 hours for 3 days. That's not really a rule, that's just basically what I'm going to be doing. Rule number 2, anytime I don't complete gets added on for a 4th day. For example, if I read 6 hours, then 2 hours goes into the 4th day. Rule number 3, the timer is only on while reading. And hopefully that will challenge myself to not want to pick up my phone, because then that means, you know, literally anytime I don't get done because I'm procrastinating, doom scrolling, anything else like that, I'm literally just adding it up for a different day. And then rule number 4, don't push myself beyond my limit. So if I gotta sleep, I'm gonna go ahead and sleep. If I gotta tap out for the day, then I'm just gonna go ahead and tap out. So let's go ahead and get into the books that I do plan on reading for this video. First one on the list is Alchemised. I wish I was a lot farther in this book. I'm only a little bit in. I'm on page 236. Next one on the list is Amongtheburningflowers by Samanthashannon. This is a novella part of the Roots of Chaos series. So it's really short. And I absolutely love both Pride of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night. I rated both of them 5 stars. My favorite is Pride of the Orange Tree because between the two of them, Priory goes a lot more into the religion aspects and Day of Fallen Night goes more into the political aspects. So I'm very excited to read this. As for my next book on the list, I actually don't know, because what I'm going to do is pick from my tbrjar jar. I'm not going to pick from the jar right now. I'll pick from it later on once we get to that point. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get our 8-hour timer started and pick up Alchemised. So I'm at the 25% mark of today's reading goal. I went ahead and paused it because I want to heat up some food real quick. So far I have read 158 pages. So it's separated into 3 parts. Part 1 is like present tense of what is going on. Part 2 is flashback. And then part 3 is, I know this because I'm manacled. I read it. She gets her, like, is back to the present after going through what happened in the past. I think my only complaint about this book so far is that there's not a glossary, and thank God to those people who went online and made a glossary, because I have that stuff screenshotted. I'm using that as my guide because I think that just would have been helpful, as well as having a map. I think it's just really important for fantasy books to have maps. Other than that, I'm really appreciating it's not glorifying war, it's not glorifying battle, it's just mortifying. Even when the war stops, the fear never ends. It just continues growing and festering. Makes it so hard to be able to trust the people around you. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot, but it's a very heavy book. Please check the trigger warnings. That's actually another complaint that I have. The trigger warnings are at the very back of the book. Nobody's going to go to the very back of the book to look at the trigger warnings. It's supposed to be in the front. I don't know whose idea that was. I will say already, if you prefer books that are like, yeah, they go through a dark period, but there's always moments of joy and happiness so that it's like, it makes it more palatable to read. This book is not one of those books. It's like the little moments of like, oh, there's something and there's something good are so small because it's been tainted with so much horror and so much emotional trauma that it's like a trauma bond at that point. That's all I gotta say about this for now. I'll be back to continue reading after I eat. Day 2 of this week's challenge, and because I'm starting today's video pretty late, I have a feeling I'm probably not going to get through the full 8 hours today. That's totally fine, not a big deal. Also, I forgot to mention that I have book club this week, so we're currently reading Six of Crows. I DNF'd it a couple of years back, but now I'm reading it with my book club. I have to get a few more chapters of reading in for that. So I'm going to do that, I think tomorrow though, because that's when I have book club. But that was a book that I forgot to mention that I was going to include in this challenge. As for Alchemised, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking so far, I'm enjoying it a lot more than I enjoyed Manacled. Also, I feel like there could have been a little bit more editing done because there are times that it's a bit too repetitive, that it could be cut short just a little bit more. But at the same time, it's not ruining my reading experience. It's just more of like, it would have been good for an editor to be able to do those things. This is not a romantasy. This is not a dark romantasy. This is a dark fantasy, grim dark fantasy to be specific. Their relationship that is formed is very trauma bonded, very possessive. Like, don't get me wrong, I've read dark romance books before. I still enjoy reading dark romance here and there. I don't have a problem with the possession or that kind of trauma bonding. I just want to throw in there that whatever romance exists in here is not a healthy dynamic. It is very toxic. I think if it was like a all is well, all is good, everything is fine and dandy, that it would be super detached from how the storyline really is going. Also, I want to just go ahead and throw it in here now. I support Senlinyu as the author. I do not support J.K. Rowling. I know that this was originally Manacled. I've stated already that this is connected to Manacled. I genuinely believe that if this had no connection to Manacled, I don't know if it would be as popular as it is. I think this is truly a wonderful story that is important to share and important to have. Now, if you want to have some books that are grimdark, go into lies within a religion's history, how women are used for their bodies and for their minds, but then don't get the recognition that they deserve, immigration, so on and so forth. If you want books that are like that, I'm more than happy to give some recommendations that are like that, because that is my favorite genre to read. And if you don't want to read Alchemized, honestly, that's totally fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, no, you have to read it. If you don't want to read it, that is a-okay. It just sucks that it is going to be connected to Manacled, and there's nothing that can be done to prevent that from happening. There are things that I do to not support J.K. Rowling because I believe in trans rights. I'm not going to sit here and say, if you read the Harry Potter series, if you watch the movies, this is going to enhance your reading experience. For Alchemized, it's not. I think senlinyu, I think they did a fantastic job of creating this world, creating the politics, creating the corruption. So I'm going to go ahead, continue reading. Maybe I should not have put on eyeliner. I don't know if I'm going to cry. It's actually weird. I sometimes cry with books and I sometimes don't. And usually, like, if anything, I might just get, like, teary-eyed, but not, like, actually start fully crying and stuff. We shall see. We'll just continue on, and I will update you once I finish the book. I'm devastated. That was a traumatic experience. Knew it was going to happen. I knew already, and it still hurt. Anyways, okay, review time on this. It goes into how women and people of color have been used in war and have dedicated their lives in different battles, but never received the recognition that they deserve. Using women's bodies as a way to push for one's political agenda. It goes into a lot of those different things. There were a couple of moments that I felt like could have been cut back a little bit. We would not have lost the point or the plot if those lines or pages have been cut short, if that makes sense. I don't really have anything to add right now. For my rating, I'm somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5. I'll probably land on a 4.75, to be honest. I'll put somewhere on the screen once I'm editing and I'm able to fully decide. I have about 5.5 hours left of reading, so I'm gonna go ahead, heat up some soup, and then I'll probably just go ahead and start reading this because I'm really excited to get into it. But would love if she can come out with a full-size book for the Roots of Chaos series. I don't know if she's planning on it, to be honest. Love the artwork on this book. See, if I had like $1,000 to drop on tattoos, I'd probably get that jacket. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, yeah, I'll see you in a second. I finished Among the Burning Flowers. It went by really quickly, to be honest, and I think I'm going to go ahead and rate it 4 stars. So it follows 3 people. There's Albrecht. I'm probably saying his name wrong, by the way. He's a prince in a different kingdom. We see him more in Pride of the Orange Tree. Well, not see him more. We see him again in Pride of the Orange Tree. There's Mulago. She is a caller of the Draconic Sleepers. Then there's Marosa, and she is the princess to the kingdom that we're paying more attention to in this one. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. It was good for getting more insight onto the world as well, because it's a very intricate world. So I just like anything that she does that is able to build up on that, if that makes sense. So over here I got Pride of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night because I wanted to discuss the reading orders, because there's a few different types. If you want to read it chronologically, you start off with A Day of Fallen Night. Then there is Among the Burning Flowers. This starts before Pride of the Orange Tree and ends around the beginning of Pride of the Orange Tree. So this is the one that you read last if you're wanting to read it in chronological order. The way I read it was pretty jumbled. It was Pride of the Orange Tree, then A Day of Fallen Night, and then Among the Burning Flowers, because I didn't know that A Day of Fallen Night was actually a prequel until I went and got it. So basically A Day of Fallen Night happens 500 years before Pride of the Orange Tree, and then Among the Burning Flowers is 2 years before Pride of the Orange Tree. So this is what I'd recommend doing. Read Among the Burning Flowers, because then you'll get a good feel for her storytelling and her like world building and stuff like that. If you're really into it, then just go ahead and start reading Pride of the Orange Tree, since it takes place right after this one. And then if you really enjoyed it and you want to get more into the world and stuff, then go ahead and read A Day of Fallen Night. So I need a break, and then I will be back when it's time to pick our next book, which will come from my falltbrjar. Okay, so it's been like a few hours. Really fatigued. My reading comprehension is just really low right now. Let's see what comes out of this. I'm sorry if you can hear my dishwasher going on in the background. It's early afternoon, so we're starting off this a bit late in the day, but I did have to cut and wash my hair, so it took me a second to get to this point. We're currently in bed because I'm having a flare-up. I've been having a flare-up for like the past week, honestly. And if you don't know, I have fibromyalgia, so basically my flare-ups feel like I'm having the flu upon other symptoms as well. Not a fun time at all, but we're working with what we got. I do have book club later on tonight, so I do have to do the reading to catch up to where we're supposed to be. And I also read 16 pages of Slewfoot last night. I'm really enjoying it. There's Abatha, Edward, and Wallace. These are the characters we met so far. Abatha is like the main character. She is married to Edward, and Edward has an older brother, and that's Wallace. From what we're getting so far with their dynamic, Wallace is like a horrible person to not only her, but to Edward as well. So let's just go ahead and continue reading Slewfoot. Judge me. I know that possum, like the way it's spelled, there's an O in the beginning and it's silent, right? Well, the possum came up in this, and it's been a while since I've had to read the word possum in a book or in anything really. And my brain read it and it went opossum. My brain needs to be turned on right now. I have 6 hours left. Girl, there's no way I'm gonna be reading 6 hours tonight, especially since plans came up. Now I'm gonna go on a haunted house, like not haunted house, a haunted ghost tour, like 15 minutes left, until I have to pause, get ready, and then start driving over that way. I got 3 hours from last night. If I walk away with like 6 hours to add on for another day, that gives me 9 hours. So if I gotta separate and add 2 more days, then I'm going to separate and add 2 more days. It's the next day and I did not read anything last night. I got home at a time that I'm usually knocked the out in bed. I wanted to read. I really wanted to read Slewfoot because I'm enjoying it a lot. I was telling my wife about it on our way out. Most horror books I read before in the past, I rated like 3 stars because they were good, but they weren't like making me think I like the horror genre in books. When it comes to movies, I like horror movies. So I thought that I should try psychological thrillers and slasher movies, and it's just not hitting for me. But Slewfoot, yeah, I like Slewfoot a lot, honestly. And I'm not even 25% of the way in. I don't know what percentage I'm at. I'm not that deep into it right now, but I'm already really hooked into it mentally. But then I was out today. I went and got a new tattoo. Love to add him to my little collection. And tonight I have plans to get dinner with some friends. So I don't really have that much reading time for today either. What I'm going to do is just set up a 9-hour timer, get what I can done today, and then get what I can tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead, continue reading. Hopefully I can get a really good chunk out of the 9 hours that I have to read. Sorry if you can hear some background sounds, and also sorry for the lighting. It is genuinely horrific in here. So I just finished Slewfoot. I think I'm gonna rate it 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think if you're into like the colonial era horror type of stuff, then you might like this book. It touches base on mass hysteria and the struggles that women faced during this time as well. Again, it is horror, so it's not necessarily accurate or anything like that. I thought it was also interesting how the Reverend was a lot more accepting of Abatha as well as his wife. I thought it was really good though. I really enjoyed it. I think it's very easy to get sucked into it. I have nearly 4 hours, 3 hours and 51 minutes left of reading time. I'm going to go grab my tbrjar and we're going to pick out my next read and go ahead and get started on that. It's been a couple of days since I completed the challenge, so let's do a little wrap-up video part. I DNF'd Hollowheathens because I was just really not digging the characters or anything like that. By the way, I cannot remember any of their names, so I apologize for that. Basically, this girl, she was sent away to live and be raised by her nanny. Her mother had died, her father had eventually died, then her nanny died. So she went over back to Weeping Hollow to take care of her last living relative, who's her grandpa, and he's currently sick with some type of flu type of thing. When she goes, at one point she even tries to leave, but she is sent back around to the entrance of the town that she was originally in. So she's like, okay, my nanny always told me I'll be able to leave once the town is ready for me to leave, kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, the premise is really interesting. What I was just not having an easy time getting with, she goes back to a home that she was sent away from, and instead of seeking out answers like what drove her mother to her death, what drove her father to his death, so she knows things but she doesn't know everything. But at the same time, she's not trying to learn more about her family's secrets. Instead, she's focused on, who's this mysterious guy who I saw killing a freaking bird in the middle of the forest? That's what you're thinking about? I was left wanting, asking too many questions, and it was difficult for me to be able to care and enjoy the story and the plot or whatever. So I ended up DNFing it at page 172. Not care to read to the 50% mark. So instead, I started reading Learningcurves, which is a book that I actually had just added to the jar about like 5 minutes before I pulled it out of it. I even just finished it this morning actually. So it's a sapphic book set in Vermont in an academia setting with an age gap romance as well. If you're looking for a fun sapphic read, I highly recommend reading that one. But yeah, so that's really it, and that's all I have to say. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope your next book is a 5-star read, and I will see you next time.